Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Self-Storage Unlocked. Today's topic is talking all about how to best price your units based on unit features. My name is Jessica Johnson. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Vice President of the SBOA, and we're so thankful to have you guys here today. Before we get started, wanted to go over a few quick housekeeping items with you. I see a lot of you are already commenting in the comment section. That's where you can engage with us. So if you have questions for the speakers that are with us today, we have a really great group of panelists here today. Please go ahead and ask those questions live for us. We want to hear from you. We also asked you some poll questions during your registration for today's event. And we're also going to ask some poll questions throughout today's event. So if you have responses to those poll questions, again, please go ahead and put those in the comment section. And we just want to thank all of our guest speakers today and their sponsoring companies for coming together. Without them, we cannot do this type of stuff. So thank you so much to Prorize, Mini Mall Storage, Storage Asset Management, and StorTrack. And we have a quick message for you from StorTrack before I announce our speakers.
StorTrack is the leading provider of market data to the self-storage industry worldwide, offering solutions to owners, operators, developers, and investors with crucial data needed to make important day-to-day decisions in self-storage. StorTrack for owners and operators offers current competitive rate data, historical rates and trends, inventory and supply change, price volatility, marketing information, and scheduled reports. StorTrack for brokers, developers, and investors offers supply data, competition analysis, historical rate trends, inventory insights, demographic data, and plan developments. To learn more, please visit www.stortrack.com. For pricing, please contact Jody Burks, Business Development Manager of StorTrack, by email jody@stortrack.com or 727-222-5774.
All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to get this kicked off and I'm going to bring up our first panelist. I have Ahmet with us today. Hi there, Ahmet.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Ahmet, tell us who you are, what company you work for and started, and what you all do over there.
Yes, my name is Ahmet Kuyumcu. I'm founder and CEO of Prorize. We are typically invited by operators that are frustrated by lack of control on their pricing. And, what they tell us typically is either, their prices are too low, too high, they're not taking advantage of the data being collected, and they're guessing the price to go to the market with. So what we essentially do is we help them to price their products better to maximize revenue. We use data-driven software technology to automate their pricing process.
Very cool. And we'll get into some more details about your company and how you can help as we go through today's presentation. You can see on the bottom there, if anyone's interested in learning more about Prorize, that is the website. Ahmet, thanks so much for being here with us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. All right. Next up, I have Bret from Storage Asset Management. Hey, Bret.
Hey, Jessica. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Bret, same as Ahmet, give us the rundown of who you are and what you do over at Storage Asset Management.
Yeah, sure. Afternoon, everybody. Well, my name is Bret Schobel. I'm the Director of Revenue Management for Storage Asset Management. We're a third-party management company. We do accounting, marketing. We take care of the day-to-day operations and revenue management for owners. And I have been in the industry for 13 years, tenant operations, and the last 3 in revenue management.
Awesome. What a fun title and job to have. You're in charge of the money.
Absolutely.
Good thing to be in charge of. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. All right. And next up, I have the one and only Miss Jody Burks from StorTrack. Hey, Jody.
Hi, Jess. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having us here today. And thanks. You already showed my video, so appreciate that. It gives a little background on StorTrack to know that we are a data company. We've been collecting self-storage data for since 2014. So actually, we should be coming up on a 10-year anniversary here pretty soon.
Awesome.
So I am in charge of business development there. I've been with StorTrack about 3 years. Before that, I worked for a single owner in self-storage for 17 years and was his operations manager for the last 8 years. So familiar with a lot of this data and pricing and how to best price our units and make more money.
That's always a good thing. And you also, StorTrack also does some market reporting as well. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Sure. So we have data products for both sides, I guess your daily operations, which would be more, optimizing or maximizing your daily price and revenue. And then we've got data on the acquisition development brokerage side. So if you're looking into investing in new markets, the data platform there is awesome. It gives you demographics, population, supply side, new developments coming into the market. You get things like square foot per capita, a whole rate trailing 12-month average. So you can really check out that market before you make a decision to buy or build and know the data supports that decision.
Which is super critical, right? Definitely
Right.
something that everyone should be doing in the due diligence process before you lock yourself into a multi-million-dollar asset that you're on the hook for with the bank. So make sure you
Right.
get data from StorTrack. Thanks for being here today, Jody.
Thank you.
And last but not least, my good buddy, I have Raheem from Mini Mall Storage. Hey, Raheem.
Hey, Jessica, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Raheem, you've been around for a minute. Tell us your background and what you're doing now.
Well, first, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I'm with Mini Mall Self-Storage. We have 181 properties that we own and operate all through US and Canada. And we really specialize in creating spoke and hub models, going into markets, adding technology that helps us increase efficiency, productivity, and profits.
Awesome. So you're a big proponent for technology, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, we want everyone to be. So without further ado, let me get everybody back up here. Raheem, thanks for being here as well with the other speakers. All right, everyone, we're going to just jump right in. So I know Raheem is using this pricing method currently at Mini Mall and did in his previous lives. And then Bret, you guys are considering doing this over at Storage Asset Management. So you're maybe in like the testing phases. But I wanted to start with, there's so many consumers are now going to the websites to transact with us, right? I think calls are decreasing, walk-ins are decreasing. People are telling us and consumers are telling us they want to interact with us through the web, whether it's web reservation or web, online rental, if you can do the full online rental process. So Ahmet, I know you have some slides you can share with us to kind of just show what this can look like from a visual perspective on a website that maybe can help people kind of visualize what this will look like for them.
Yep, absolutely.
Raheem, and while he's pulling that up, do you want to go into how you kind of came up with this good, better, best pricing methodology and how it's working for you?
Yeah, I don't think it's something that's specific to storage. I think this is something that's been going on in the industry all over the place. When you pick airline tickets, you pick hotels. I've seen this happen way back in 2015, 2014. Mm-hmm. And I think storage is just catching up to technology on that end. Okay. Even, when you went to pick up the SSA tickets and the hotels, it gives you the price tag, and then they come back later and go, would you like to upgrade from the run-of-the-mill unit, a hotel room, to a higher, and they try to get you another extra $10 or $20 from you. So it's something that's been happening all over the place for the last decade. We're just playing catch up.
Yeah, for sure. Bret, anything you wanted to add? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, I like the good or better best. I love that it gives the customers options. I'm a big proponent of the positive way that it's portrayed on the website, right? It captures the tenant who might be price sensitive. And it also can capture the the tenant who might be amenity focused. So it really helps in that aspect, especially when it's on the website, giving those options, because that's where most of the people are finding us.
Does anybody think with like current inflation, like this is critical to give that consumer the option because they are maybe shopping a little bit more or being a little bit more cost conscious and price sensitive?
I'll take that. Yeah, for sure. I think, having an omni-channel approach on any way a customer talks to you and reaches out to you, and giving them, as you're seeing more and more of our consumers are coming through the internet and interacting with the website and not the frontline manager, then it becomes crucial to give them those options and let the customer decide which route they want to go, right? Give them options, let them choose.
For sure. Ahmet, are we ready with these?
Yeah. Can you see the presentation?
I can see us.
Oh, you can see you. Okay. Well, I thought I was sharing. Give me a second.
It's okay.
It's for some reason share screen. All right. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Let's see. There we go. All right.
All right. Okay.
Cool. Talk us through this a little bit.
I think you guys had a very good intro to this. Essentially, what we're trying to do here is really the goal is to maximize revenue from your assets. And you are offering many different types of products. And what we're looking at here is the differentiation between different, like a size, feature of the product or location of the product are differentiated and offered to the customer. And customers actually, if you let's say you offer a 10 by 10 and some of them are in ground floor, some of them are upstairs, if you're not differentiating in price, essentially what you're going to end up is that you're going to be selling a lot of the ground floors first because they're more convenient. So the idea here is that decide on what's valuable for the customer and charge them higher as they get more value. So you're looking at the customer's willingness to pay and then price to that. That's really what the definition of revenue management is really. And these are some examples. I think you all know this, that the larger units are more expensive than smaller ones, or unit closer to an entrance should be more expensive than units that require some navigation through the hallway. Drive ups are more expensive and so forth. So the idea is to create a consistent process so that you price, you create a optimum gap between them. Once you actually do that, typically there are different approaches to this problem. The way we do that is we have some unit definition of segmentation, then we optimize the gaps and look at, for example, two different groups and how they sell with respect to each other and create gaps, appropriate gaps. We find sometimes that, you can charge 30-40% more for ground floor for the same unit than, let's say, units that are in other floors. And there is, if you actually end up charging 10% more, you'll sell more, but maybe that's not the right gap. So we're trying to optimize that gap. Okay. Once you do the optimization, though, there's a whole piece of this where how you sell these products matter, how you present to the customer. And I'm going to kind of get into that a little bit. On a website, for example, this is more like a psychology of selling or psychology of how the customers behave. And there's actually a lot of study done on behavioral economics on this, that one of the author of this actually won a Nobel Prize in economics. What basically this idea is that never display a unit by itself, because human being needs to compare with another unit type or another product. Even if you're buying something on a retail shop, comparison is easier than just seeing a single product and a price. So reason for that is that we like to anchor to either another product or price. So that's typically what you see, is that either you do see a the kind of the rack rate, like $80, and then it's crashed and it shows you 55. So 80 is used as an anchor. A better way to anchor it is anchor to a product that is similar. So when you're displaying on the website, you can kind of see that unit B is anchored to A. And here it's very comparable. You see the 10 by 10, drive up versus first floor. This is outside, and then climate control. So a lot of things are similar except price. You see a big gap in the price. In this example here, what you see is that customers are going to be choosing B more. If your optimization is telling you that you need to sell more of B and you have very few A's, these might be the right display. In that case, you're going to convert. If you convert A, that's great. If not, you're going to convert a lot more B's when you're displaying it this way. If you were to display B alone, you're not going to sell as much on the website. But, versus if you display it with A, you'll have much higher conversion. Another good strategy to use is always show units with similar unit types. So if you're showing something like this, you got to, human needs to be able to quickly compare. If they cannot see the difference between them, they cannot compare. So in this case, you're looking at, similar units. One is drive up and one is first floor. And you can kind of see that prices are so close to each other. When you see this, you're going to see that this unit will convert much faster because, this unit will convert much faster because this is much better product with so close to the inferior product in price. If that's what you want to do, that's what you display. And again, I'm kind of like, there's a display optimization aspect of it where once you optimize, companies in the e-commerce studios like Shopify or Amazon, Hotwire, Expedia, companies like that, there's a piece where you create prices, but there's also another piece where how do I display this on the website so that we convert much faster? This is a tactic that you can use to anchor to another product that is similar. What you don't want to do is show two products that are so completely different from each other. Like an example here, these are sizes different, drive up third floor. They're not comparable. So human cannot judge, which one to choose because they're so different from each other. So this is a better display than right here, this. The other tactic is the never display more than 3 because there is a paradox of choice where if you get a lot of options, you become very indecisive. Mm-hmm. And that's from the behavioral economic again. So if you display 3, kind of the optimum, the people typically go towards the middle. And then as you can see here, you can easily compare the products and you see that the anchoring is done from bottom and from the top. Top is very expensive, so B will become very attractive here. And just to this point, just to conclude on this, even when you're selling in store, when the customer comes in, what we found is that always showing the most expensive unit first, based on what the customer wants. Obviously, you want to understand the size and what they require it for, and then show the expensive unit first. And if they're not happy with it, or if they find that to be too expensive, then show an alternative unit that is much cheaper. It's much easier to downgrade than upgrade. So if you show a cheap one, then you anchor them to a cheap price, and they're going to negotiate more in a good unit than if you start from a more expensive unit. So I'll leave it at that, but it's a more, again, on the value selling piece on, how you display on the web versus how you sell. Your selling process matters a lot in terms of having higher conversion and higher revenue.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Those are really good data points and good visuals. Raheem, is that kind of the process you're taking over at Mini Mall when you display? It's the 3 options, very similar features, but, a little bit better on one versus the other?
Correct. Very, very similar on that, right? And Emma said it pretty well, is you have to anchor the customer and give them options. And we used to do that, again, when we had a lot more walk-in traffic coming in 10, 15 years ago. And we have seen that the traffic has shifted. So that's why value pricing and having that display on the website is crucial.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to put this question up. This is from Sean, and then Raheem and others, please feel free to answer. But Raheem, maybe we'll start with you because you have seen some increases. For those that are using value pricing, what is the percentage increase you're averaging from good to better and then to the best value units?
So we sort of package it together. Good is one package, and better or best is considered an upgrade. Doesn't matter which one they pick, as long as they're picking one upgrade, it's considered an upgrade. And we see anywhere from a 40 to a 60% of the customers coming in online will pick one of the better or the best options. Now, and here's the little caveat.
Say that again. 50%?
Yeah. Somebody walking in the door will upgrade at 20% lower. And we find out that one of the biggest factors is if you let the customer choose, they will choose 20% more to upgrade because you've let them decide on their own, versus a manager gets into it and they start paying and they start trying to talk to a customer with their own paycheck. Or check on their own wallet, and they're always trying to get the customer get the cheapest one. It almost goes to this philosophy that if you remove the manager, we can actually get better sales.
We need to get some different managers over there. It sounds like they better be upselling. What are you talking about? No, thank you for responding to that. And I want to put this comment up from Rob. They have a slightly different values depending on size, but usually looking at that 15 to 20% swing. And then we have a question here from John Price. How automated is this process, and how difficult is training of the store personnel?
It's it's a very easy process because again, it's just a click, click, click. Training, and I think us sort of making sure that on the front lines, developing talent, coaching them, coming back and teaching them how to understand sales. We have a lot of legacy managers that have sort of just understand how to run a property, but we're sort of shifting into a new territory, and you need people that are sales oriented and really understand how to connect with the customer, build trust. All of those are things that need to be trained. And what we see over and over again is managers going into properties, working on everything except for the sales part of it. So as we continue to do that and build and hire better people, I think you'll start seeing an elevation on and acceleration on the deviation between the value pricing.
Yeah. And hey, they went from like $15 an hour to $20 an hour in today's economy. So they better be selling for your properties, right? They're already getting paid higher. Bret, let me ask you now, you over at SAM, you're in like the test phase. You guys are trying to figure out if this is something that you want to implement within your infrastructure and your organization. What made you guys decide to take a look at this? Like, what were the drivers in this?
It's just to differentiate us on the website and give more options to the customer. Obviously, it's going to add value to your store to be able to give these different options to the customer. And like we've been talking about, most people are finding you on the website. So to be able to display that and give them the option of, again, the amenity-focused tenant versus the price-conscious one, to be able to do that before they go into your store and meet your staff, right? So I think that's really important to give them that options, and we're excited to see how it's going to improve our day-to-day operations.
Yeah, good point there. I want to put this comment up from Tiffany, and then it also has a question. So it sounds like they have a value add property. They're currently adding on to their current property, and she's asking how much of a price difference should there be between their brand new units, those new buildings that are crystal clean and sparkly and new and smell new, versus the older buildings that maybe haven't had an upgrade in a while? Anyone have any thoughts or suggestions there?
Typically on situations like that, what we recommend is start somewhere, create a gap. If you believe that, again, value pricing is about what the customer perceives the value of their product will be. If you think that it's going to be much more valuable than your other products, again, comparably, you can start with the gap and see how that's selling with respect to your existing units. If it's really selling fast, then you can in fact increase that gap and optimize it. So you got, if you don't have any data point in the history, it's hard to kind of guess in that particular location. But you got to start somewhere and then have a data-driven process to optimize that gap between new units and the existing units.
Yeah, definitely. And here's a good, thought too. See what your competitors are doing. Maybe your local competitor is in the same scenario as you are. They just added a new building. And Jody, I'm going to segue over to you for this. So StorTrack has some really great data that they can help owners and operators that maybe aren't going to utilize a true revenue management system like Prorize, where they can at least go in and pull the data to see the historical rates, see their competitor rates, and kind of figure out where they're going to go from there. So Jody, if you want to pull your slides up and talk to me a little bit about what StorTrack can do to help owners and operators, that would be great.
Yeah. We have the data, like you said, more of your, everybody is familiar with doing competitor shops. And at some time or another, we've had a manual process where a lot of managers do that themselves. We provide data to small, medium, large operators. And then, like you said, on the acquisition development side. So just to give you a quick overview here of showing you the data that StorTrack tracks. And again, our data is publicly sourced and it is coming from the website. So we're looking at rates that are published online. So you can see here that we're seeing over 500,000 daily rates published. And so in the platform, we can look at some of that from your competitive shops, like you would say. And as we've all been talking about, whether it's a value priced unit or a premium unit, we can show you those different prices. So somebody may have one 10 by 10 shown 3 different prices. And that's where we're also discussing features. Usually there's some different feature, amenity, or like Ahmet said, a value, whether it's a perceived value or an actual value. And then we're seeing how this is a little different as, how many daily rate changes. So to optimize your price or grow your revenues and take advantage of those different value prices, we're seeing that there's over about 150,000 daily rate changes. So that means that some operator is changing their price every day. Some maybe once a week, some maybe once a month, but we're picking up close to 150,000 daily rate changes. And that could be up or down. Doesn't always mean up because, you have to know, like you said, what's going on in your market. And sometimes there's a reason to add a value price unit and maybe bring it lower. And then other times to add an increase in price or a premium unit. So we just did some quick numbers here to show that, and this is based on a 5 by 5. We show upper and we show ground, and we show the average price that large operators and small operators are getting. Now, again, this is just one unit, and this can vary from time to time to see that a small operator is getting a higher price than a large operator, and that also could be based on how many units are available and different things there. So for features, we took a look quickly again, and based on just 10 by 10s and nationwide, and again, pricing that's available online, we see 41% are offering the feature of climate control. And again, this goes back to the websites, and like I think Raheem and Bret know, is that once you get this data and your pricing set, you've got to show these features online. And so as StorTrack tracks websites, we see them run, from, I guess you could use the better best analogy also, that some don't list features, or they just say inside. They don't tell you if it's climate control. They don't tell you if it's drive up. So again, we're only able to pull the features that are listed on the website. But you can see the number of climate control, 41% climate control, are advertising a price with a 10 by 10. We've got 28% are drive up, we show 38% indoor and 15% are upper floor. And so that's probably that, like you say, the indoor is where we need to, if we could get better features on the website, we could break that down even further for you. So does indoor mean in a hallway, or does indoor mean inside of a building? You know, those kind of things. This is probably a little bit small. Not sure if you can see this, but this is out of our optimized platform, which is on the daily operations side. So I just wanted to show you kind of a sample here to show you that in this case, the 3 highlighted units are, and I think they're 12 by 20, so that you can see that this particular operator has 3 different price strategies on that one particular unit. We do have a column for features, and in the live platform, if you hover over them, it'll show you one means it's a roll-up door, one's drive-up, the trees mean outdoor. So again, you're able to see these features, use this data to make those decisions to help you drive your revenues. So, and then the second one here, I think is just based on a climate control unit and the same thing. So just like you said, good. I mean, you have to know the data, and if you can show it on your website, I think it does give a better closing rate for you, for your customers to find out, what they're looking for, and offer them choices and offer yourself opportunities to grow the revenues. Oops, I can't hear you, Jess.
3.
There you go.
One of these days I'll listen.
Rule is a quarter.
I know. I really need like a sophisticated laptop that just knows when I'm speaking and when I'm not speaking, and it just unmutes and mutes me as it needs.
Good idea. When your lips move, it should go on. When they stop.
That could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing too.
It should definitely be a bad thing with me. AI is a little scary with what's going on out there. I don't know if I need that level of AI going on in my life. Awesome. Thanks again for that. And everyone knows StorTrack's program is like a subscription-based program. Jody, it costs? Like, you can run a 5x5 and make your ROI back on what you would spend to be part of the subscription with StorTrack. Right. So it's so worth it to get that data versus, and listen, there's nothing wrong with old school. If you have your owners or your managers calling your local competitors to shop rates, so be it. But listen, we are living in the digital era. We are living in the time of automation and technology. Take away some of that man-hour labor for yourselves and get automated. Get systems like this or Prorize that can help you push the technology and automation. We've got a very lively audience today, so I'm going to go into some questions from them, and we'll leave my questions alone. So
they've got better questions. Huh?
They got better questions than me. So Kurt's saying, to create good, better, and best pricing, are you creating a unit type for each category? Do you have a process to allow dynamic pricing where a unit in one category can automatically change to a different category/unit type? Woo, it's a lot. Go ahead. Whoever wants to tackle it, go for it.
Yeah. You want me to take it? Go ahead.
Yes.
No, I would say that you definitely need to know, what all your units are and have a tiering process for your units. Obviously it's really easy to do the, drive up versus temp control, first floor, second floor, but also tier them whether, they're close to a gate. Are they close to a camera? Are they close to the entranceway? If they're a second floor unit, are they close to the elevator? You really want to have an idea where they are and kind of, section them off. And then price them based upon that.
Awesome. Anyone want to add to it?
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna say, this is again about this is about what the customer perceives the products, and you want to define them so that you can justify the price differences. So that's why we call value driver. Is it? You don't want to create. You don't want to have a. You don't want to have an overboard and, create many types so that, there are no differences, but you're showing a price difference. So you need to be able to somewhat justify. This makes it easy for your salespeople to sell value, because if you're showing 2 products and their prices are different, but they are exactly the same, then it's hard to value sell it. So you got to be able to have some differentiation on the product. And I think defining unit types and then having the algorithms to create the right gap based on how it's selling is what this is about.
And to add to what Ahmet and Bret said, it's very important to make sure your call center, your frontline manager are also able to talk about it. They can educate the customer. When a customer reaches out, asks a question, you want to make sure that they've been trained well on that aspect.
Yeah, for sure. And I love, and Ahmet brought this up earlier as he was doing his deck. And then when we were even doing our planning call for this, brought it up too. Lead with that premium unit, start high. What did you say? Easier to have them downgrade versus starting at the downgrade level and then getting them to try to upgrade, right?
Yeah, starting high is an anchoring. So if you all, me and my wife, we were looking for a house. We had a budget, but when we saw a nice house, we were anchored immediately to another, edit another $100,000. So if you start from a cheap unit, it's harder typically for human to go to more expensive. And they're gonna start arguing why you're charging another 40% up. But if you're starting from an expensive unit, and then you give a 40% off, they're going to feel like they're getting a great deal on the cheaper unit, and you'll be able to convert much faster. Now, more work for you, for your sales team, and that's why they don't like it. So there's some training needed because you got to show at least 2 units. Good news is that the good units are typically close to the office and, drive up and all that. Interior units or the units that are hard to sell are far away. So they got to do a little bit extra work if the customer is price sensitive. Maybe they're not sensitive. They take the expensive unit. You're still happy, right? So, but if they're price sensitive, then you have another option for them. They need to maybe, do a little bit more selling and extra, walking to sell the unit.
And that's exactly what we use, Ahmet. We say, look, if you sell the first unit, you don't need to make that walk. So convince the customer they want that first unit, which is the higher priced unit. And if you can convince them with your sales tactics, then you save yourself the trip to go to the back end of the property.
Yeah. But if you start from cheap and they like it, then you won't be able to show the expensive one. Yeah. So that's the issue.
Yeah. If you show the expensive one, they don't know it's a perceived value, right? You tell them, all the amenities that they have, whether it's smart keyless entry or there's electric in there, and you give them an all-in price. They believe that all these amenities are built into it, that I'm getting all these extra things for that price. And then if they, are more price conscious, you can then, as everybody's alluded to, go to, the units that are farther away. And that gives them that, perceive that, hey, I'm getting a deal here, right? It's like when you go to a concert or sporting event, you sit up top, and then that one game, that sporting event, you sit down below, right? You're never going to go to that top, tier again. You're going to want to watch the game from there. And it's the same thing if you are, walking in and you're close to an entranceway, and then you see this other unit that's far away, you're probably going to gravitate towards the other one anyway. But at least it gives you that option of a discounted unit for a tenant, right? Because it's all about options.
Hey, listen, I just went through this with HubSpot. We were looking at turning that, getting that CRM, and man, they had me sold on the Ferrari version. And I'm like, there's a lot in this Ferrari version I won't ever use, but man, I was sold on the Ferrari version because it was just so much, bells and whistles. And sadly, I had to downgrade to the Mustang version because I wouldn't be able to afford the Ferrari version. But there's so many people out there doing these dynamic pricing, value pricing. And this is definitely a methodology that people should be looking into. And I'll shove this over to Bret and Raheem because you are operators. Someone's just asking, who is everyone using to build their website? And audience, please feel free to chime in on this too in the comment section if you want to give some suggestions. He says StoragePug has a build that a few other operators are using, which highlights that value pricing. And StoragePug, shout out to that team. Because they're doing that, they do have really good conversion rates on their websites. I will give them some kudos there. But it sounds like maybe Sean is using a storable product. Maybe it's more of like a templated based website and maybe doesn't have those custom features, because you're kind of set in that template. So Raheem, Bret, who are you guys using? Who have you looked at previously? Any suggestions for the audience out there?
Yeah, we're using the storage group for a website. Okay. And I know with their value pricing, they do have the better, best, good option available to us. Obviously, we're looking into that, as you alluded before, but the storage group is who we are using.
Cool. Raheem?
We're using Go Local.
Cool.
And they've given us the ability to have our own marketing team and website management team that sort of comes in and is able to massage the website and make changes. So that's one of the reasons why we have chosen them.
Gotcha. Now, Ahmet, with your product, or do you integrate, like, talk me through like integrations? Are there integrations? Like, how does your product fit into the equation here?
Yeah, we are integrated with, basically the system of record is the data management software companies like Storable or SSM or
Property management system.
Yeah, we have bi-directional integration with all of them, including StorEdge, SiteLink, SSM, and almost all the major companies.
Gotcha.
And we create the unit types are created there, and then we just populate their unit types, and then there is a display processes happening from there on to the website provider, website developer.
Gotcha. Very cool. Good to know. This question is for Raheem. See if I can talk. This is from Lauren. Is your strike-through rate anchored to your basic rate and your street rate anchored to your premium rate? Between the three different customer groups, good, better, best, have you noticed any particular sensitivity in ability to push rent increases?
Yeah. So, hey, Lauren. Our strike-through rate is anchored to the street rate on all of them, and then from that point, the good, better, best. Better is 10% more, and then best is 12% higher than better. So it sort of goes up from there. It's a stair-step process.
Got it. Thank you for responding to that. And I think, Ahmet, we have one for you. There it is. This is from Olga. How do you benchmark tiered rates shown to competitors? Should anchor option be in line with competitors' base rate, or is it okay to be higher?
Yeah. Hi, Olga. The way we get competitive rates is, StorTrack is our partner. We have API with them, for example. What we do is we get the unit types that are displayed and the rates that are displayed by the competitors. We have a mapping algorithm on our side to map our products to the competitive products and see where their prices are. We have a separate algorithm for this. Essentially, we're looking at the entire history of how they have been charging versus how you have been charging for different unit types, and whether that's impacting your demand or not is automatically correlated. And sometimes we respond to their rate changes. Sometimes we ignore it if it's not impacting our demand. So there's but the mapping is done through, we know the types of unit that are being displayed based on attributes of the unit, and StorTrack provides us that, and we use that to map to our own products for the customers.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and I would agree with that, right? It's, you look at your competitor, you look at your base rate compared to the competitor, but then you also need to look at many different variables. You can't just go, hey, there's the rate, I'm going to match them, and that's it. How's your occupancy? What's your, what's the demand? How many people are coming through the website? What's happening over the course of the next 30 days? How are you happening on vacates? How are how is your property compared to the next property? So you look at many different variables. It's not a quick math and go, hey, they're charging 100, I'm going to charge 90. It doesn't work that way. You have to look at many different variables before you decide. And as Emma said, there's an algorithm that kicks in and does that behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's a good point too, right? It's not just so cut and dry. There is like a mad science behind all of this, right? And many variables to look at. So Kurt's asking this, and Jody, I'll start with you, and then we can go around. If he's got 100 10 by 10s and they all have the same exact amenities, should a third be good, a third be better, a third be best based on the distance from the entrance? What do you think, Jody?
I don't know if you can just put a third. Again, I think you've got to look at your individual properties and make those decisions. What is the amenity? Like you said, is it a perceived value or a real value? How many do you have? Ahmet said too, you got to have a starting point. So if that's where you want to start with a third, and then obviously you're going to take into consideration how those units are renting, what prices are you're getting. Like I said, use the data to help you, and obviously your property software management, your sales skills, lot involved in that. So
there is a lot involved. Anybody else want to add in what they're maybe like a suggestion they would have for Kurt?
Don't do a third, because that only gets you to 99%. You're missing a percent.
There you go. Good one.
Only you. I love it.
Well, actually, one thing that comes to mind, and I see this all the time, and I don't think operationally some of us look at it in that format, is that you'll find the company unit always in the front. And that should be one of your best units, and you're going to get a higher price on it. Need to be very conscious of where exactly are we putting company units or offline units or whatever you want to call it, employee units, so just make sure that we're taking that into consideration, that are you maximizing revenue on your properties, and you're really looking at where those free units are going to be.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I also say if there are 100 units and all of them are kind of in the same floor, once customer loads their goods, I mean, it's just like they can walk another, 10 yards to get to the next unit. So, maybe you don't do the one third. Maybe the, first 10% might matter more, and the rest of them should be treated as another group. So again, if you think about it, if you don't differentiate it, what will happen? What will happen is that you'll probably fill it more in the front where access is very easy. That means that those are a little bit more desirable, but you cannot get a big premium, if it's all the same floor and, customer can just walk down a little bit to store their goods into the next unit.
Yeah. Another thing is, knowing your inventory. Traditionally we'll get climate control or temperature control units as an extra amenity and more expensive than your alternate drive ups. But if you have a store that has, 30 inside 10 by 30 climate controlled units, and you only have 2 10 by 30 drive up units, then, that limited supply, then that tenant is going to have to pay more for that unit, that drop unit, because you don't have the inventory. So if they want that unit and you only have 2 left, they're going to pay for it. So, the value can definitely shift as well.
Yeah, I would say over time and running properties in Florida, like I said, almost 20 years ago, everything was single story built, all climate control was ground floor. So it was easier to put the premium. Now you've got so many multi-level facilities where people are going upstairs that those outside drive-up units, sometimes not climate control, are getting a higher price than the climate control, just like you said, based on supply and demand.
You definitely want climate control in Florida. I learned that the hard way when I stored a box of candles, and when I went to go get that box of candles, completely melted. I was new to Florida when that happened. So if you are in the state of Florida or a state that has high humidity, I would definitely have climate controlled units at your facility if you don't. Let's talk about some other features real quick. And then we've got about 8 minutes. I want to talk about some features that, we've talked about: security cameras closest to the front access in the office, but there's some other cool technology that's coming into play, right? Noki locks, the automated locks. Storage Defender has that interior ultraviolet, or I'm going to say this wrong, but it's a motion detector, can tell if someone's penetrated your unit. So you have a smart unit. Any features any of you are using or have seen or heard of that you could put into a unit pretty easily to make it that much more valuable to a potential tenant?
Yeah, we have the Noki locks, or the smart keyless entry, as we call them, at a store in Wisconsin. And we were able to rent them up 20 to 25% on our normal size units, and they leased up faster than our typical padlock or disc lock. As you mentioned, Storage Defender is something that we're looking into as well as an additional add-on, right? Because one of the most important things for a tenant is, are my items going to be safe, when they're storing? So, what's that, again, value for the customer to be notified when that door is open? What's that value?
Yeah, for sure. Raheem, anything that you guys have added?
No, I think Bret just gave the best answer.
Yeah. The Noki locks are pretty cool. Definitely, if you are building a new one, I would get in touch with the Janice and Noki team. It's very easy to implement in a new build. Retrofitting it to current facilities is doable too, but I think it's a little bit more challenging, but I don't want to dissuade you either way. It's a great product. You can literally, if you're an owner operator and someone's delinquent, you can go boom, and they are overlocked right here from your phone. So that's pretty cool. You could be sitting in Tahiti overlocking your delinquent tenant. So Ahmet, I'm going to talk to you about this one, and Bret, probably you a little bit too, and Raheem as well, and Jody, if you want to jump in. So there's this new feature that a lot of websites are doing where it's like the 3D mapping option, where it's telling you exactly what those features are within the units, and the consumer from the website can go, I want unit 101. It's the first unit. It has all the upgrades I want, versus unit 901 all the
like
way.
picking your seat on a plane.
What's that? Exactly. Like, do you want to upgrade for $20 and be at the window or the aisle? Or are you okay being crammed in the middle for no dollars added, right? So talk me up. I met through that. Do you have any like visual examples? If you don't, no big deal, but tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, again, if even if you look at the theaters, you see that, right? So they give you sections. They don't give you every single seat. It gets too complicated. If you offer too many options, then people again will become indecisive. Again, I think just showing sections and then within sections show the attributes. I mean, that's the best way to design this. I mean, again, a lot of e-commerce sites, they sell millions of products, but they make it so simple for you to just focus on what the customer really will want. So that's the kind of a design aspect of it, where this should be really, tailored to the customer also in some sense. For example, guide them into a workflow that says, okay, what are you going to store? I think a lot of you are doing it size, maybe. You understand if it's a small, medium, extra small. Then from size, you give them some options based on what other customers, chooses. You can use even algorithms to guide them into a product that is most likely to sell. So I think, you have to guide them into 2 to 3 options. You don't want to give them too many different options. They won't be able to decide. That's the design principle I will follow for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to make this concise, right? I mean, you don't want them exploring too many options, going to local competitors because they feel inundated by your offerings, versus like, oh, it's way simpler. The guy that's across the street, he doesn't have as complex of a process. So, well, we are sadly almost out of time. Audience, if you have any final questions for our speakers here today, please get those. Kurt's asking, who is providing 3D mapping? Does anybody know? The website providers, it's basically like your site map, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's coming from a website company or if it's an add-on to your website.
I've seen both. I've seen it being an add-on, and I've seen it where the website company sort of develops it. I think there's different web providers that are doing different things and trying to be creative and being, in front of technology that's coming around the corner.
Yeah. And here's a helpful helpful hint. The more interactive your website is with interactive maps and calculators for your units, the longer people will stay on that website, the less your bounce rate's going to be and your exit rate. And we want them there. We want them transacting with us, right? So Lauren said she sees a limited version of this with easy storage websites. But I'm sure there's a bunch of providers out there. I have a couple quick announcements before we wrap up. Next Thursday from 11 to 4 is the Storage Business Owners Alliance Storage for Rookies educational event. That is our event that we do for newer owners and operators looking to get into self-storage industry. Or if you are a smaller owner operator and you're looking to expand your portfolio, this is a really great learning opportunity for you. Again, that is next Thursday from 11 to 4. It is a virtual event. You can do it right from behind your computer. We've had lots of great feedback from our owners and operators that have joined us thus far. We have a day full of panelists talking about supply and demand, feasibility studies, how to buy, how to build out, how to market, how to operate. You'll get a little dose about everything. So that's next Thursday, again, March 2nd from 11 to 4. You can go to the SBOA.com, upcoming events, if you would like to register for that event. We will be back not until March 16th, because what do we have coming up, guys, in New Orleans?
SSA.
The National SSA Show is coming up in New Orleans. If you are a storage owner and operator, this is a must-attend show. The Storage Business Owners Alliance, my company, will be there. I'm sure Prorize and Jody's team from StorTrack and Raheem, everybody's going to be there. So please come join us. Come find us in the expo hall. Our booth is 446. We also, my company has a round table at that event. Anybody speaking at that event, Raheem?
Friday, 9 o'clock.
Ooh, you got the Friday
morning, huh?
I've had that one before too, and I'm like, who did I tick off at SSA? I'm just kidding. So please go see Raheem's session. Come to our roundtable. Come visit us. Lots of fun, exciting networking opportunities. If you are under the age of 40, there's the Young Leaders Group that you can go join. And if you are a female in the industry, there's the Women's Council. Please come join the Women's Council. We have a separate networking event. But yeah, we won't be back until March 16th because we are going into trade show season. And on March 16th, we have another episode of Self-Storage Unlocked. And this one is talking about leveraging technologies that will help you decrease your delinquencies. I think we're going to have more delinquencies coming here soon because disposable income and inflation and all kinds of stuff is happening. And people are going to stop forgetting to pay their storage bills, I think. So
not if you follow the process. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
I don't want them to, but I think it's coming. But here's an opportunity. You better be charging late fees. Don't be kind. Charge those late fees. Don't let Aunt Shirley get away every month without paying that late fee because she has a different excuse every month. So please be charging late fees. We'll talk more about that on March 16th. Everyone, thank you so much for being here today. Audience, if you have further questions for our speakers today, email them in to info@the SBOA, and we will get those over to the panelists. We'll see you guys back on March 16th if you are not attending Storage for Rookies next Thursday with us on March 2nd. Everyone have a great rest of your Thursday. Thanks for being here. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Yes,
Bye.
good to see you, everyone.